Joining me now, the President's top military advisor, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mike Mullen. Welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning, David.
Admiral, are we at war with Libya?
We are actually started yesterday, a limited operation and narrow in scope, focused on supporting the United Nations Security Council resolution, which very specifically focused on humanitarian efforts, protecting the civilians in Libya. And I'd also say that operations yesterday went very well. Certainly, and putting in place a no-fly zone, which is what we're doing right now, and effectively, he hasn't had any aircraft or helicopters fly in the last couple days. So effectively, that no-fly zone has been put in place.
But just to speak plainly about it, as you've said, any no-fly zone begins with an act of war. This is war against Libya.
Well, what we did certainly is we took out his radars, his ability to for the most part, attack us from the ground, and that's how you start to set up a no-fly zone. Again, it's very focused on ensuring that he can't continue to execute his own people, and we don't see any indications of any kind of large-scale massacre at this particular point in time.
Let's look at the map here and talk about both the geography and some of the strikes. These are, according to the Defense Department, where some of the strikes are. Obviously, Tripoli, which is where Gaddafi is. In Benghazi, you don't see any strike points on that particular map. We know from our reporting out of our own folks at the Pentagon that B-2 bombers were deployed, dropping some 40 bombs against air defense systems within Libya. What is the concentration in Tripoli versus Benghazi?
Well, I think as you look at that, most of those targets were part of his air defense system. We also hit some of his airfields. Again, these are almost the prerequisites for establishing a no-fly zone. And then we put combat air patrol cap up above in various places, and we've got them aircraft stationed above Benghazi right now on a 24/7 basis, and then what we'll do is we'll move that capping capability, those aircraft, over time further to the west. But most of those strikes took out his air defenses and hit his airfield.
Is there more to be done to limit his capacity to either attack planes or to attack rebels?
Some of the engagements yesterday included attacking his forces on the ground in the vicinity of Benghazi, and clearly the objective will be to attack those forces and ensure that they are unable to continue to attack the innocent civilians, which he was doing as recently as yesterday morning in Benghazi.
What about civilian casualties? Libyan TV, as you might expect, has said there have been civilians hit.
Sure.
Can we confirm that?
Well, all of these targets were looked at in terms of absolutely minimizing collateral damage, and the reports I've seen have indicated minimum collateral damage. I haven't seen any reports of civilian casualties, and I think true to form, what Gaddafi has done is put in place both human shields in some cases, as well as created or said that we have generated civilian casualties. I just haven't seen that yet.
What else do you expect him to do in the coming hours and days? There's a stockpile believed to be of mustard gas. He's talked about lashing out using terrorism against Western interests. What do you expect?
We've focused very heavily on the chemical capability that he has, and don't see any indication that he's moving on that. We've been focused on that for days. This is yesterday and today is the first phase of a multi-phase operation. But what we expect is him to stay down, not fly his aircraft, not attack his own people, and to allow the humanitarian efforts, which is such a significant part of the United Nations resolution, to take place.
The goal, as the President has stated it, is to protect civilians, but he's also made it very clear that Gaddafi has to go. How, with this kind of limited military operation, can you achieve that goal?
Well, in the next few days, David, first of all, I would expect us to pass the leadership of the military operation to be led by those in the coalition. and that the United States in particular would support with unique capabilities, which could include jamming, intelligence, support, the kinds of things that tanker support for the aircraft, those kinds of things. And then to support the kind of humanitarian effort that I talked about. And then I think over time, obviously, Colonel Gaddafi's going to have to make some decisions. Clearly, there's been significant international isolation, significant sanctions, an arms embargo, and a very broad coalition internationally to isolate him. And I think he's going to have to make some choices about his own future at that point.
But I mean, you know, maybe we had a lot of faith in him making the right choices since we've been after him for decades. He hadn't done that. Do we have it in our interest and in our plans to go get him?
Well, certainly we've looked at, as we've prepared for this, all kinds of options. The President's been very clear that we're not going to put any boots on the ground. This isn't about occupation in any way, shape, or form.
But what if it doesn't work? What if the goal of preventing civilian death or the goal of getting him out of power doesn't work? Why put that limit in place?
Well, I think certainly the no-fly zone will allow us to continue to both attack and monitor his forces, and at least initially it looks like it's had a positive impact in terms of preventing further civilian casualties. And I think what happens next, and speculating about that, is there's uncertainty associated with that. The whole idea is to put as much pressure on this guy so he doesn't continue to kill his own people and isolate him internationally, which he is, I believe, more than he has ever been.
But isn't it a legitimate, it's not just a diplomatic question, it's a military question. If the goals do not prevent Gaddafi from going, what do we do? There's the prospect of Gaddafi holed up in Tripoli, a divided Libya. This is not a sustainable strategy.
This is certainly the goals of this campaign right now, again, are limited, and it isn't about seeing him go. It's about supporting the United Nations resolution, which talked to limiting or eliminating his ability to kill his own people, as well as support the humanitarian
So the mission
efforts.
can be accomplished and Gaddafi can remain in power?
That's certainly potentially one outcome.
Is this in our vital interest as a country?
I think the President's made it very clear that our national interests are tied to a country that is so close to us in the Mediterranean, that borders Egypt and Tunisia, two countries that are also undergoing significant change as we speak, and clearly the focus on the humanitarian piece in terms of someone who has massacred his people in the past and preventing that. In that regard, it is.
But there are also questions about the double standard here. Why do we make a move on Libya, and yet in Bahrain, where Saudis send troops in to help a monarchy, we stand back?
Well, again, this mission is very focused on Libya, and we're paying a lot of attention to what's going on in Bahrain and in the Persian Gulf as well. And the other thing is, each one of these countries, I think, is different. We've tried to focus on it in a different way. We've had a great friendship with Bahrain for many, many decades. We've got one of our main naval bases are there, and we're working hard to support that in a way to certainly see a peaceful outcome there in terms of how it evolves when the Bahraini people are asking for change as well.
Is it possible that it's too late to really make a difference here? Had a no-fly zone been implemented a couple of weeks ago when the rebels had more momentum, that would have been the time to act, and now it's too late?
Well, I think that's speculation, Dave. I don't know that going 2 weeks ago would have turned this one way or another. Essentially, I think it was important, obviously, to have the international sanctioning, the United Nations resolution, and the coalition, a broad coalition which both condemns him and actually acts against him in terms of implementing the specifics of the no-fly zone.
How long will this go on?
It's hard to say how long it will go on. Over the last 24 hours, there's been a significant amount of progress. As I said, effectively, the no-fly zone has been put in place. We have halted him in the vicinity of Benghazi, which is where he was most recently on the march, and then it's hard to say what will happen in the next few days or weeks.
And what happens if Gaddafi goes? Are we prepared to see the rebels put forward a leader for that country?
Well, we've actually been in touch with the opposition in terms of understanding what they want, but I think there's certainly a lot of work to do to look at what the next steps would be with respect to what would happen in that country, and that would principally be left up to the people in Libya.
A third war in a Muslim country, 8 years after the invasion of Iraq. Is this simply too much for the United States to take on?
Well, certainly I'm very much aware of the significant steps we've taken, and that this is certainly an additional fight. Mm-hmm. That said, we're more than capable of meeting the needs. Again, this is a limited, narrowly scoped mission, and we have the capability and the capacity, and as has been the case for so long, we've got great people, and they've executed exceptionally well.
Do I detect any reluctance from you, though?
No, none whatsoever. None whatsoever. I mean, the President has said this is a mission to carry out, and we are, in fact, executing it, and we can do that within the even the challenges and stress that are presented broadly across the force.
Is it possible that the United States will take a back seat in this effort very quickly?
Well, we're looking to, while leading it now, we're looking to hand off that leadership in the next few days. This is a military operation, so that's got to be done smoothly. There's a coalition which has come together, a commitment to a coalition lead with respect to this, and we would expect that to happen in the near future. And then we will provide the kind of support and unique capabilities that I spoke to earlier.